Hey, I need an ambulance.
What's going on there?
I think someone's overdosing on heroin.
Overdosing on heroin. That was the frantic 911 call, just the beginning of a saga involving 3 people who overdosed on heroin in 2 separate incidents in Kalamazoo County within the last month. Incredibly, all of them survived. But that wasn't the case in Ottawa County 2 months ago, when 2 men died at the same house just weeks apart. And in Kent County, we broke the news earlier this week that heroin is now killing more people than any other drug. Tonight, Target 8 investigator Susan Samples has the results of her months-long investigation into who's using and who's dying from heroin in our suburbs.
No, I remember with all my kids, tubing, water skiing, fishing, jet skiing.
Jim Warnstrom and his wife raised 3 kids on Dean Lake in northeast Kent County.
You got everything. You got a cul-de-sac, you can go out and do anything you want. You got a lake, you got winter sports, you got summer sports.
These days, Warnstrom is winding down a highly successful career as a trial attorney, but the fight of his life came outside the courtroom.
It was a battle. It was a battle dealing with worrying about getting called in the middle of the night, worried about what he was doing, trying to get him to redirect himself to become what I knew he could be.
Warnstrom says his carefree, funny, loyal, and loving son Tim was 16 when he began dabbling in drugs.
He had loving parents. He had a loving brother and sister. We paid attention to his activities.
None of it was enough to stop Tim's slow plunge from pot to harder drugs to one of the hardest, heroin.
There will be parents out there still who will say, that's not my kid. That's not my kid. That couldn't happen. That couldn't happen to us.
Well, they're wrong. Okay? Yeah, they're just wrong.
When we first met Warnstrom's son, Tim, it was here on paper in this document called Case Report. With heroin now killing more people in Kent County than any other single drug, we wanted to take you beyond the statistics to show you who and where heroin is hitting hardest. So we came directly to the authorities. This is the Kent County Medical Examiner's Administrative Office, where we got rare access to the death reports themselves. What those reports told us, last year, heroin killed 19 people in Kent County, up from just 5 people a mere 5 years before. 2012's youngest victim was 17, its oldest 55, ages that are trending younger. Tim Warnstrom was one of 5 young men who died from heroin last year. All were in their early to mid-20s. All had some history of drug abuse. None fit that old profile.
I think the stereotype used to be somebody in the poor areas that may be a prostitute.
When I asked Kent County Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Stephen Cole where he thinks heroin is most often killing today,
I would say the suburban areas.
Of those 5 young men, only 1 died in what's considered Grand Rapids' central core. The others came from homes in Grand Rapids and Plainfield Townships, Comstock Park, the northeast side of Grand Rapids, and Wyoming.
We're getting more middle-class individuals who are using it. It is in the upper middle-class community to some degree.
Of all 19 deaths, about half happened in GR's urban core. The vast majority were men of diverse races, levels of education, and jobs. There was a sales account manager with a college degree, a building contractor, restaurant manager, daycare provider, artist, factory worker, student. Only 1 was described as homeless.
I couldn't give up on it. So.
But Tim Warnstrom always had a home.
Some people said I should have thrown him out. Never could do it.
Even when Jim and his wife sold the family home 2 years ago and moved to Florida, Jim bought a condo for Tim close to his restaurant job. Warnstrom came back every couple weeks to check on Tim, who'd be in and out of jail and rehab, but sometimes managed to stay clean.
Again, he had that inner struggle.
It was last November that police knocked on Warnstrom's door in Florida.
It was like 3:30 in the morning, and my wife said, "Don't bail him out." I said, this time we don't have to worry about it.
Tim Warnstrom was dead at 25.
What do you think he'd say to you right now?
I think what he'd say is, I'm sorry for the negative impact I had on your and Mom's life during that 7-year period of time. That's what I think you'd say.
Brian and Sue, I asked Warnstrom, looking back, was there a moment that he could pinpoint where Tim started going off track? And he said, in high school, Tim was injured in a sporting event, and he got out of organized sports. He said maybe he started to drift there just a bit, but they didn't see it coming. They just did not see it coming.
And you can see him struggle
The
so
anguish.
much with. Is there anything that he feels he could have done differently? He and
To
his
this
wife?
day.
Yeah.
Well, he was racking his brain while we were sitting there doing the interview. He's like, maybe we should have forced our kids to be a little bit more disciplined about the little things like making their beds. But it's not as if they didn't discipline their kids. They certainly did. But he also said that Tim was a great kid, super polite, just a really great kid, but also had a little bit of the mischief, a little bit of what Warnstrom called the devil in him. Great kid, super funny.
But got in way over his
Just
head.
got
Went
in,
the
yeah.
wrong path. Okay, so tomorrow morning on Daybreak, I want folks to know about this. You can send your questions to us. There's so many questions. All parents have them.
Sure.
Daybreak, 6 a.m. hour, we're going to have an expert on, an addiction specialist who can talk to you about the signs to look for, what to do, etc. Go to woodtv.com, go to my story, post your questions, send us your questions. We'll get answers.
Yeah.
This is such a scary thing
It
for
is.
Right.
parents.
And like he said, it's going to happen to anybody. It could
Yeah.
happen to anyone.
Don't think you're immune.
Right.
No. Susan Samples, thank you.
Thanks,
Sure.
Susan.